worried again then. It scared me. I thought my microphone was working. But I'm glad that you can hear me. And the lesson today is on body parts. So this will be really important to help you and try to have some techniques that we teach that are very beneficial for everyone and covers all aspects of English. English. So we've talked a lot about listening, we've talked a lot about grammar. We're going to try and have another fun lesson for talking about the different parts of the body. So, what I'd like to do today is to start with a fact. So, the first fact that I would like to talk to you about is how does talking affect different body parts? What parts of our body which have functions? And perhaps those of you who work in the pharmaceutical industry will have a little bit more of an advantage today with this lesson. But anyway, hello Hamza and hello Ella. It's nice to have you in the lesson today with me. So my first question is, what is the largest organ in the body? So again, I'm seeing that some students are having difficulties hearing me. Please ensure that your volumes are turned up. Elodie, can you hear me? Can everyone else hear me? Everyone else hear me now? No? Now? Okay, how about now? Is that better? No sound? No sound? No problem. Can you hear me, Elodie? No one. Okay, perfect. I do apologize. Sometimes YouTube does not want me to teach English. It doesn't want me to talk about the different body parts. So, please do let me know if there are any technical difficulties. Perhaps it's my microphone which malfunctions. So I'll try and stay as still as I can so nothing moves. I do apologize again for these difficulties. There's not much we can do. But anyway, let's start with the lesson and carry on. So, my question was, what is the largest organ in the body? And it is the skin. So, our skin is what surrounds our body. And our skin is actually an organ because it absorbs different nutrients. It has a function. So the largest organ in the body is our skin. I thought that was a very interesting fact. So hello, Atomica. Thank you very much for joining. My next quick fact before we start the lesson is how many times in a lifetime does our heart beat? How many times in a lifetime does our heart beat? So, beat is the action when our hearts pound and pump blood around our bodies. So, I believe we have, I think, 100 beats per minute at a resting rate. So, how many times does our heart beat in our lifetime? Let's have some guesses before we begin. So, of course, these facts are related to the body. We've talked about the skin, which covers our whole body. And now we're talking about our heart, the cœur. Okay, so 90 beats per minute. So, how many in a lifetime? I'm going to help and I'm going to give you the answer. Our hearts beat 3 billion times in our lifetime, which is a staggering amount. And I thought that was very interesting. But let's start the lesson. Okay, so what I would like to do is I would like to use this prop today to help describe the different body parts. So what I'm going to do is I want to have more of an interactive lesson. So I will try to point at different parts of this mannequin, and I would like you to write down the word or the part of the body which I am pointing at. If you would like to, please do write a sentence for me. Tell me what that body part is used for, what verbs can also be used. And also, I will have other questions and quizzes later on in the lesson to help enforce these body parts. So let's start from the top. What body part is this? What body part is this? So as I said, you can just write the answer, or if you have a sentence which you would like to write, that would also be perfect. So what body part is this? Fantastic, the head. So can we think of a sentence for the head in English? What do we use our heads for? There are many sentences which you could make. If you could write me one sentence about the head, that would be perfect. And perhaps people will have different suggestions. But we have many different objects on our faces, which we'll come to later. But primarily our head, we normally talk about the inside, our brains, okay? If we're talking about our eyes, our mouth, and our nose, we refer to this area as the face, the visage, okay? So we have the head as a whole. This is the head, but then we have a face where our eyes, our nose, and our mouth is located. So let's have a look at some of the sentences. We can wear a hat, fantastic, on our heads. We can have hair. So we have a special name for someone who does not have hair. We say they are bald. Hamza has written here, when the weather is hot, I get a bad head or a headache, we normally say, Hamza, if you're not feeling well with your head. So fantastic, really good sentences. The next body part I'd like to talk about are these here. What are these called in English? So you can just write the word. There's no need to write a sentence. It's just to really enforce the vocabulary here. So fantastic. These are called the shoulders. Okay, so a shoulder is normally where we carry and put our bags, and the spelling is perfect. So well done, and thank you for your contributions. Okay, so we've talked about the head, the shoulder. What is this called? If I copy the man here, what's this called? Fantastic. So hopefully we'll go through this vocabulary very quickly, but perhaps there are some students who are unsure about the vocabulary and will need a refresher. It's always nice to recap vocabulary which you feel confident with. And as I mentioned later, it's nice to recap because then you will feel more confident in the questions that I have later. So yes, this is our arm. And in the corner here, between our forearm and our arm here, we have what's called an elbow. Okay, so we have an elbow, our arm, and what's this at the end? What's this at the end called? So what is this? We use this for so many different options. And yes, an elbow is the joint here. Okay, so this is my elbow. And exactly, you've written down hand. This is our hands, and we also have fingers on our hands to help us pick up things and move objects. So let's carry on. I feel like you have a good understanding, but let's quickly recap the rest. What do we call this area here? All the way around here. Where do you put your jeans? Where do you tie your jeans? It begins with a W. I pull my jeans up to my Okay, a really good guess, Elodie. The ankle is actually down here. Okay, so the ankle is this joint here, which connects our leg to our foot. So I've given you some answers later on there too. I've given you leg and foot. No problem at all. It's really good that you're trying. So what's this area called here? If I had some trousers, I would put it to my begins with a W. Okay, so it's a good thing we're recapping. Some of these words can be difficult. We call it the waist. So all around this area is our waist. Next to our waist, we have two hips, and the hips are the joints which connect our legs to our bodies. So we call this the waist. If I have a pair of trousers, I will pull the pair of trousers up to my waist. Okay, and then I also mentioned we have our legs and we have our feet or foot if there's one. So let's try some questions. Thank you all for sharing and for contributing. My first questions, like yesterday, I'm going to scramble the words and I would like you to unscramble them and perhaps write a sentence for me using these words. So these are going to be organs, okay? So a part of our body which has a function. I need you to unscramble these letters. So we'll start off simple and then we'll talk about a couple of other important organs. But of course, if you have any issues or problems, it's important to understand where you have pain if you want to explain to someone. Also, these words are sometimes used in expressions in English. You could say to someone, I love you with all my heart. I think it's just important to know every piece of vocabulary so that you can just broaden that vocabulary and feel more confident in English. So, as you've guessed correctly, this is heart, and the heart has a function of pumping blood around the body. So Elodie has written here, The Shape of My Heart is a famous song. My song knowledge is not very good, but I'll have to look up that song. It sounds very nice. Okay, the next organ is this. What organ is this that I've written down here? So again, you need to unscramble the words. And just in case there are some students who are watching this lesson in the future and are unable to see the chat, the letters are N, R, B, I, A. And as some students have correctly pointed out, that is the brain. The brain is in our head, and the brain helps our body to function. It sends signals to our body so that we can remain healthy and we can operate efficiently. The brain also controls our thoughts and it controls our learning. Right now in this lesson, we are all learning using our brains and our heads. Okay, perfect. Let's try one more, as I think it's nice to have different exercises and not just do the same ones. So we haven't spoken about this organ yet, but it's very, very important. What organ do you think this is in English? And for those of you who are able to guess these, it's really good that you're trying. And if we look at some of the suggestions, fantastic. You've guessed it, and the answer is lungs. So our lungs are the organs which we use to take in oxygen. Okay, so we use our lungs to breathe. So fantastic. I hope you've learned something new with those questions there. Okay, so what I'd like to talk now about is the senses. We have 5 senses. Okay, so can you name the 5 senses in English? Can you list the 5 senses in English? So now we're talking more about the face and our heads. We have 5 senses, humans. Do you know what the senses are? So I believe you meant to write down hear. So the sense of hearing, page, fantastic. We hear sound. You are listening to me right now. We can hear, fantastic. We hear with our ears. Okay, this is my ear. I hear with my ear. Sight, fantastic. Sight, we use our eyes to see. Okay, so I am looking at the laptop. I'm using my eyes to see the laptop. Touch, fantastic. Hamza and Elodie, thank you very much for writing those down. Touch is, of course, the sense we have when we feel something with our hands or our body. We can touch things to hold them. Touch is a very important sense to have. We have a sense of smell with our nose. Fantastic. And there's one more. I think you've written it down, Paige. What is goût in English? So far we have touch, smell, sight, and we have hearing. But there's one more sense that we haven't written down. What do you think that could be? So it's goût in French. What do we translate goût to in English? So I'll give you a couple more seconds. So we use our mouth for this sense. We use our mouth primarily, our tongue. It's taste. We say that our fantastic, Page. Well done. So taste and flavor. So those are the 5 senses. Let's just quickly talk about them. So hopefully we feel more confident as to what they are. So my first question is, what is your favorite smell? What is your favorite smell? And you can answer in full sentences. So we've talked about some one-word answers, but now I want to try and encourage you to write a sentence in English. So what is your favorite smell? I think my favorite smell has to be perfume or aftershave. I think it has a really nice smell, and it's always nice to take care of yourself and to smell good. So let's have a look at some suggestions in the chat. It's always nice to learn about some of you here as well. So Elodie loves the smell of coffee. Yes, I think that's really important in the morning to smell that coffee to get you started. Atomica's favorite smell is basilic. Yeah, basilic smells really good too. A popular plant used for cooking, of course. Yeah, the smell of grass and cutting. I really like that. And I know it sounds strange, but the smell of rain is really nice too. So my next question is about sight. What is the best sight you have seen? What's the best view you have seen? For me, my favorite view is a sunrise over the sea or a sunset. I love watching the sun disappear or reappearing from the sea. I think it's very symbolic of the new day, and I think that the colors which are in the sky at this time are simply amazing. It's a really fantastic time to be outside and enjoying the view. So does anyone else have a view they would like to share? Would you like to write a sentence and tell us about a nice view that you've seen or would like to see? So Atomica agrees with me. The sea in Sicily. Sicily is a beautiful island. I would love to go there, and I'm sure the view is amazing. Ah, fantastic. So we have a lot of students who agree. Fantastic. So let's move on. We'll come back to the senses later. But what I would like to do now is just quickly describe a body part, and then I would like you all to have a race to see who can be the first person to correctly write down that body part. So the first description that I will tell you is this body part is used to pick up different items, and we use these to mainly touch and feel things. What body part am I talking about? Okay, so I'll repeat that again. This body part is used to pick up different items, and we use these mainly to touch and feel. So I think your connection, Elodie, is so fast. You're always the first to respond. It's fantastic, and I like your determination. So of course the answer is hands. We use our hands to pick up objects. And Hamza, you are correct in a way, because our hands are on our arms, but more specifically, our arm is the whole part here. So if I said my arm hurts, I could have a pain here, I could have a pain here. But if we try to pick different things up, we use our hands. So when I use the verb pick, it's when we take something, when I take something with my hand. And we often feel different sensations with our hands. If I want to buy a new bed, I won't feel it with my legs or my tummy. I feel them with my hands. We always, I think we have the most sensitive parts of our bodies in our fingertips, so it's always best to feel with our hands. Okay, the next body part that I would like to explain to you, and again, you have to guess which body part it is our brain is in this part of the body. So this should be an easy one. Our brain is in this part of the body. What body part is it? Okay. I think Elodie has the correct answer, but we'll just wait to see if there are some other students who had guessed it too. Fantastic, Ellen and Hamza. Thank you very much for contributing. So our brain is in our head. So it's a very similar spelling to hand. There are 4 letters. There's just one letter difference. Sorry. So there's a really interesting comment from Paige here. So Paige has written down skull, which is spelled skull, and the skull is part of our skeleton, the hard tissue called bone. Our brain is in the skull, Paige. Fantastic. But of course, it's also in our head. So both answers are correct. Okay, I have one more description for a body part. And again, this should be very easy. So hopefully someone can beat Elodie to this next answer. So the next description is, we use these to run and walk. What are they? We use these body parts to run and walk. What are they? So I'll give you a couple of seconds. What do you think it is for running and walking? Okay. So it's fantastic to see everyone's written down the answers at the same time. And yes, I think there are multiple answers here because our feet are actually on the ground and we use these to help us run and walk. But normally when we talk about walking, we talk about moving our legs, our whole body part, because the feet are a body part, but we need all our muscles in the leg to help us run or walk. But fantastic. It's nice to see that everyone has written down and contributed. So thank you for that. The next part of the lesson, what I have written down here are 6 verbs, which I will write down in the chat. And what I would like you to do is to match each verb to the body part. Okay? So again, I'll repeat that. So if I give an example, I don't want to give an example of one I've written down here. If I say, or I write down the verb to touch,
you would need to write down hand, because a hand is what we use to touch things. Okay, so if I write down the answer, so it's another game, it's another race. So the first verb that I'm going to write down is beat. What body part is linked to beat? We spoke about this before. Okay, then we'll just wait for some other students to see what suggestions everyone has. Okay, so fantastic. The answer is heart. We refer to the movement of our heart as a heartbeat. If I am nervous, I will say my heart is beating very fast. So the answer is heart. And we talk about a heartbeat, every movement of our heart. So a beat we also use for music sometimes, and a beat is the big drum in the background, the big drum that just pumps every couple of seconds, just like our heart. So we say heartbeat to describe the movement of our hearts, the pulsation. Fantastic. The next verb is chew. I said this word or the body part once today. Maybe some of you might not be familiar with this verb. But again, I like to challenge you and I want to give you a challenge. So we'll just wait for some more students to see what answers they come up with. So the verb is chew. What body part do we use with chew? I'll give you a couple more seconds. Okay, thank you for your suggestions. It's really nice that you're all trying and answering. It's really interesting to see the different perceptions. So chew is the action when we're eating. When you chew your food, it's when you move your jaws inside your mouth, you move your mouth and your teeth, and you chew food. So it helps you to break down the food into smaller pieces. So teeth is the correct answer. We chew with our teeth. You can also say mouth. I can see a lip in the chat. You're very close. The lips are very close to your mouth, but chewing is the actual action of breaking down the food into smaller pieces. But a really good try. Okay, the next ones are are slightly easier, so hopefully everyone can contribute. Smell. What do we use to smell? What body part do we use to smell? So smelling is the action we use when we take in a scent, when we recognize a scent that is either in the room or outside. And of course, that is the nose, the nez in French. Fantastic. Okay, I think we have time for one more today. And the last verb that I'm going to write down is breathe. And as Elodie has pointed out, a nostril is one specific opening in your nose. So a really good vocabulary there, Elodie. I think you have an advantage because you have a pharmaceutical background. Fantastic, Hamza. Really well done. So breathing is obviously the action of taking in air and releasing carbon dioxide. So Paige, you're certainly right. You can say nostril and nose or mouth. We can breathe with many different parts of our body. So you are all correct. And thank you all for writing your answers in the chat. So I think that concludes the lesson today. Thank you all so much for taking part. I think it's really important to learn some vocabulary outside of business too. It's vocabulary that can help you in the future. And I hope you all have a lovely evening, and hopefully I will see you all tomorrow at the same time. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.